Acapella groups.
Acapella groups.
Oh, a whole record of just tap dancing.
Ham boning.
I think just having like a comedy record label.
Comedy records.
Yeah.
When you recorded your album, was it all of you or just you two?
Me and Rocky, and Jake Portrait, who produced and engineered it. And yeah, it was three of us, just basically for like simplicity's sake of just having enough people in there to get the job done without, you know, like getting too many people playing different things. We kind of took it slow throughout the whole production of the album.
What was the biggest challenge during this recording?
I guess creating like an interesting sound that we could turn into a live show, which has been an interesting progression because now we sound much different live than the actual album. But
and why is that?
Why is that? I think because you want to make live sound a little bit more interesting. You know, like an album should be something that's something you can listen to and it's got texture and it's somewhat like beautiful or like produced a little bit more. When you're playing live, you want it to be raw and exciting and like get people interested at the moment who haven't heard you before. So I think that was kind of like the main impetus to like make the live show more like sort of like psychedelic and rock and roll and sort of like out there a little bit more.
But going back to the other question, I'd say the difficulty with the record making it was a lot of like just fleshing out the songs. Like when we started the record, you know, there was the record deal and it was just a handful of demos, and some of those demos were literally just like a couple chord progressions that we had made, and like some of those would win over like completed songs we had. So we had some things that we had to build up in a studio, and it was a challenge first time working with Jake to see what works and what doesn't work and like writing songs together kind of. So the challenge was learning really what we wanted to do, really, like, because that's kind of like the whole base of the album, like the name of the album being Curiosity is like we were just like kind of playing around and figuring out what we were even doing. So it was like kind of a challenge just figuring out how to even like finish the songs. Like sometimes it was like a struggle to do it or like a battle, but yeah, I think that was the biggest one.
How would you describe the Wampire sound on this album?
I don't know, I think we went into it like wanting it to be a lot more like 60s sounding than it ended up being. Like I think it ended up being fairly, a lot of like the sounds are fairly 80s. There's like some 60s style production, but it's kind of like a nice smear across like 60s to 80s. That's what I think of it. Really crunchy sounding, a lot of like mid-range goodness on the drums and stuff.
It feels like some parts are almost a bit post-punk,
yeah,
some are more like psychedelic,
yeah,
Spirit Forests.
Yeah,
and then
it's like we started trying to make it like thinking that we were gonna make like a really 60s sounding record for some reason. I think like gradually, like out of us came like a lot of like the post-punk and like 80s sort of influences.
Yeah.
It makes it for like approaching a second one. I want to embrace that a lot more and like approach that kind of.
It's kind of how we've been for a while. Like it's always, the band's always been kind of a genre-defying sound, because we're all interested in so much music that like whenever we come to the table with songwriting or like recording, we bring in all these different elements. So it's never just like, it's not like a one genre kind of thing.
which of the songs on the album would you say have the best melody?
That's tough. I
Probably
guess.
like Trains. Trains is like a very melodic song.
Orchards is quite melodic.
Orchards is pretty melodic too. Like Orchards is
Chorus
pretty like
is,
musical, like dense with music. Like Trains and Orchards are like very like rich and like melody that gets like kind of stuck in your head, sort of thing.
Would you mind singing a bit of it? Just the parts for the...
Oh, I would mind. Yeah, I don't want to sing it. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you.
But do you have any specific way of thinking when you develop a melody for the song?
Sometimes it's just like you like you kind of like have to like free up your like intention to write a song. You know, like if you want to write a song, you'll sit down and be too serious, and the melody won't even come to you. So like sometimes you just have to like wait and let it come to you, and then you'll be like somewhere randomly, you'll think of a melody like, oh, is that already a song? I don't know. Actually, wait, no, that's totally just something I just thought of. and you go with that. Like you have to like wait for it to happen. I feel like if your intention is to write a song, you sit down and you really think about it, it's gonna be so contrived that it's not gonna be like an inspiring melody. Usually it can be, but in my experience it's better just to like wait for a moment to happen where you have the melody in your head and it's unstoppable and you write the whole song in one sitting. That's a perfect way to do it, really.
So where did trains happen then?
That was a perfect example, actually. Well, I was just like walking down the street and I like just said bye to a girl and she was like moving away, and I was like riding a train back and got off the train and I was like pretty like bummed, you know, and then walking around and I was just like had this like soul song bass line stuck in my head, and I don't know what it was from. At first I was just, you know how you do, you're walking on the street and you're thinking of a song or whatever, and then realized that like there was like this counterpoint melody between the bass and a vocal, and I was like thinking about it, and then all of a sudden some lyrics started coming to me, and by the time I like walked from, you know, the train stop to my house, I like sat down and I thought about it, and like the song just like wrote itself after that. So it was like a really simple song. I like simple songs. That's like, I always like simple songs. The best songs are like 2 or 3 chords.
When you play live shows, are you inspired by any other band in the way you perform?
Yeah. A lot of like the sort of like the posture of like maybe like, would you say like what's a good performing band that we've all seen?
Prince.
Yeah. Prince. No, I mean like, you always think of like the quintessential, like Rolling Stones have like a great live set, you know, like bands that just like bring this charisma and like they don't have to try hard to make the crowd go wild. Something like that. You just, and you think of like the rock and roll heroes in your head, and you just like try to play as well as you can and whatever.
I think
I don't know. What do you
kind of
think?
like, well, like what
think
just
of anyone.
comes to mind, like our buddies Foxygen, like it seems like they have like a really peaceful, calm record that's like you'd listen to in your bedroom. It's like really relaxing. And then live they have this like crazy, energetic show that doesn't sound anything like their record. And I think it's kind of fun just to like, if you look at something like that, like there's a difference between recording. It kind of goes back to the other question of like, there's a difference between recording music and then putting out a live show. And so then it's like, when I think about performing live, it's like you don't want to sit there and like play these like quiet, peaceful songs. Like you want to rock out and have fun. So they just come to mind as like a band that's like, I don't know, they have like a good rockin' live show. It's like, we like to rock out too.
Foxygen is almost a bit violent, like Sam. He tends to beat his beat.
Yeah, we're not quite at that level, but
I guess if I've thought about anybody recently, like as I'm playing a show, like I never really think about that sort of thing, but I think about like also friends of ours, like the kids in that band Dive. Like their songs are also like pretty melancholy, or like not the most rocking songs in the world, but they're all like thrashing. So every once in a while, when I like find myself like standing on like just standing there and playing a song, I'll like remember like, oh yeah, there's bands out there that are just like, that will just have the best time. Like I need to like get into a little bit more. Sometimes it's like you get in such the routine of like, I'm on tour and I'm just standing here doing the same thing. You forget that it's like, I just need to listen to what's going on right now and like insert myself into it. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing playing like show after show, and like what it kind of does to your head a little bit.
You know, we recently played in Amsterdam with Mac DeMarco. He has the best live set. It's like the most inspirational thing, really, because he looks like he's never played that music in his life. First show, it's just every single song is like he's excited, he's jumping around, he's like crowd surfing in between.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, like
too.
he just like
Very
kills
inspiring.
it. And it's sort of like this, it's this thing where like a show isn't meant to be so like composed and like everybody's supposed to stand around with their arms folded. It should be an experience. Like people should go to it and like walk out of it smiling from something, you know, like something crazy that happened. So I don't know. That was really inspiring.
And do you think that you have achieved this with your live shows?
Maybe not. I don't know.
I tried not to think about his live show because it's so good
It's
that
so
like
good.
I feel like it's unattainable for what we do. So like
yeah.
for them like thinking of like diving, like there's some kids like rocking out that's like a little bit closer, but he like they're all like smiling and telling jokes and like hopping in the crowd. That's like a completely other thing. What we do, it's like if I start thinking about trying to be like that, then I'm just gonna bum myself out, basically.
But that's like us trying to do like They Might Be Giants. Like,
Like put on this
that
like
was
grandiose
absurd,
show.
Yeah, we're not that kind of band.
We'll get there. We're just not charming enough yet.
What's your opinion about interviews? Like, what do you get out from them? Except
Often
emotion?
not very much. You know, I think after the first wave of touring this year and doing interviews, I feel pretty like burnt and dissatisfied. Like a lot of time you do an interview and give a really honest answer or just like state a bunch of facts, and then afterward I walk away from it like, God, that was such bullshit. Like, didn't say one fucking thing that was interesting, just listed off a bunch of stuff that we're doing in all actuality. Anybody that watches it probably doesn't care that much, and like maybe that's just really negative, but I feel like a lot of the time like the initial questions as we're starting out as a band are just like very lackluster. Like this one's been fun, and it's fun doing like video with like all of us hanging out drinking beers, but just a lot of the experience doing interviews is like, I don't know, it's just like I'm trying to find new ways to answer questions that are like more colorful and or like vague or something, so it's more fun for us. And also just we've started talking about like when we do an interview, like they get the names wrong, like the translation is wrong on what we say.
Yeah.
We were talking about how for a
How
couple
we, like-
interviews we did this method where
Yeah, we're doing a round robin style interview where
No matter what question it is, we have a certain person answer it, even if they're not technically qualified to answer the question. For example,
You just pass the microphone.
yeah,
Down.
I wasn't a party to any of the recording of the record, but I would answer questions about like what it was like to record the record, how it was to work with Jake Portrait, and I would just kind
The
of
songwriting process.
yeah, the songwriting process. I wrote 0 songs, have no idea what the process was or what it was like, but you know, just even the exercise of trying to answer a question that you don't know the answer to is, I think, valuable in terms of like interviewing, because when you're dealing with someone who's maybe not, you know, they're not necessarily like understanding every word you say, or like sometimes we'll like use a turn of phrase that works in English but is untranslatable into another language. So after a while, it's not that it doesn't matter what you say, but like it starts to matter less and less. And so we start to play with the idea of like, well, since we'll be misinterpreted anyway, and since people will read what we say and not necessarily get what we were trying to express just because of their perspective as the reader, then we might as well just like take control of the misinformation and just sally forth with you know, with our own version of the history and reinvent the history at the moment of interview. That's what
which has been a beautiful process, and it makes me okay with doing interviews, because it's like we just wing a bunch of bullshit, then that's way more fun than just like sitting here and telling you exactly what I did, like to make an album.
But I think a lot of people that start bands, they have these dreams about that they one day will be famous and they will get interviewed, and this is what we will answer. And did you have this kind of dreams too about interviews?
I don't know, maybe when I was like 15.
Yeah, more
I
dreams
think
to
when
put
you
out
get-
the record and play shows
Yeah,
than to be
exactly.
Maybe being on
interviewed.
like the Dick Cavett show or something.
Yeah.
When you get older, you're disillusioned, like, you know, dreams of being like a epic rock star like disappear, and you just really want to be a real musician, like as in like I make a record and it's out, like that's like Cole said, get the record out and play shows. That's like more of an interest for us. I
So
think.
when did your Rockstar Dream?
What?
When did your dream disappear? Was it when you were 15?
Yeah, good question. I was in a dark, dirty basement with a lady named. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean like you have to realize at a certain point that like it's not about like, you know, you see like a small band who's like trying to rock out too hard and they're just rocking out too hard and they have like all these dreams of being like a big band and it's just not real. The reality is like music should kind of like be something genuine, you know? So like if people like it enough to make it big, then the music showed its worth. But I don't think you need to dream too hard, you know?
And also, the message, if anything, is in the music. It's not in the interview, and it's not in like anything that we say as individuals. The band and the music is the message, not this interview. Like, this is where we get across specific information. Like, it was great to make the record.
So if I understand it correctly, you don't aim to be like a festival headliner or something.
No, it's like a product of like our work. But if it happened, it would be nice. But it's not the ultimate dream. Because once you're at a festival, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just that people are listening to your music, and that's good. But you want to keep doing what you do. It's not about like, okay, we did it. We did it. It's not like, but it's about you want to keep doing it. So you just try to keep genuine, try to keep doing it right.
Do you have like an ultimate dream for this band?
At least do like 3 or 4 records, but hopefully more. I don't know. I don't really know.
I mean, all that stuff. I was actually thinking of like, back when you asked that question, like, I do still have that Rockstar Dream, because I feel like we're so far from it. Like, it's so hard to achieve that in a modern day. Like, back in the day, it's probably even harder because you had to be, you had to have like this selective luck as a rock band. But nowadays with the internet, like, you have to like get over that hurdle and climb to the top. But yeah, that whole dream of like living comfortably is still there. Like, where we're at now, it's such a funny thing that like some people can show up to the shows and treat you like such a rock star, and just to know that it's like a total veil in between you and them as far as like the reality of what's going on. And it would be, like, of course, like, yeah, I dream like, oh, it'd be super fun to play like a huge festival show, have a bus or something. But those are dreams. Yeah, I think what Eric's saying is like, dreams are dreams and goals are goals. Like, I'd rather put out some records and yeah, more of the idea behind having like a headlining set at a festival and a tour bus is knowing that like I did what I was like going for, and like writing songs that people like and like affecting a lot of people.
Okay, thanks a lot for taking time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for having me.